What's up, guys? We got another video on our hands. This is what if Issei had Sukuna. Now in this version, Sukuna is actually around the same strength of Drake. Now I know I wasn't sure what his original strength was, but they divided him up into 20. Usually they would put him in like a gear or something of that nature for someone this strong when they're taken out of a fight. But it took Sir Zex, Ijuka, Michael, and finally the last person it took was Azazel. They all jumped him and won, barely. Mainly reason they won was because once they were all holding him down, Michael had the sword and chopped off all of his fingers, by chance containing all his strength, and that's when they killed him. But this is when they note that any kind of monster, like curse or stray devil, if they absorb a finger, then whoever absorbs it is strong as shit, but it has a toll on the body. It's not really a toll, but Sukuna's original strength, if he finds the worthy thing, like, because that's like something Great Red told them right whenever they beat him, he said, listen, if anyone ever consumes those fingers, they'll get immense strength, but only if they are a demon. And, by chance, if someone consumes those fingers, a regular human would usually die, but because it's like a poison. But there are some that will not die. Well, one at least. It is a human with the ability to absorb those fingers, and it will probably be hundreds of years before you ever find one like that. When that day comes, be careful and try getting him on your side, since he will have Sukuna as if he was just that powerful. And remember, a single finger grants enough strength to easily, I'm going to say it was like a 20th of Drake's original strength, which makes it where it'd be enough to take on anyone who wasn't like a monster. It'd be enough to put anyone who wasn't at least high-class devil from like rank training on their ass. It could put multiple peerages down as if it was a joke. So Riser's family actually heard of this, being that they're immortal. His father noting that if they ever had to deal with that, they fucked, because this could absolutely beat their ass. And this is when Sir Zex would say, alright, if it's that much power, even I might have to step in the fight. And this is when he would actually give something back to Azazel. A gear. Because Azazel was already collecting them bitches. Azazel, who had really just gifted two of the strongest gears to Ijuka and Sir Zex, just so they could actually win this fight. It literally took every one of them using their full power combined to take on Sukuna. And even then, it was a hard as fuck fight, and they were all injured as shit. Luckily, they all had Phoenix Tears to get healed. This is when they note, well, if that ever happens, we'll take it on. We'll fight this whoever it is if they are a threat. This is when Great Red would say something here. What? Granting them one use. If he ever comes back, call me. I'll be the one to handle him. Especially if it's all 20 fingers. I feel like I'd need to be the one to do it. Them all understanding and saying, of course. Back to the what if. As this is when we would clear over to Issei. 200 years later. He's walking around after school, about a week before he would originally die. And he finds something he wasn't expecting. It's what looks like a box with some weird writing and shit on it. He picked it up and said, shh, it looks pretty funny. Even then, seeing when he opens the box, there's this creepy ass, like, rolled up thing. He's not sure what the fuck it is. But he does know it's about the same size as a finger. As he said, that's kind of cool. What if I take this to the Occult Research Club? What would their reactions be? This is when, surprisingly enough, a stray devil would appear. And it would try to eat Issei. This is when Rias and her peers would actually appear to fight. Rias stated that any devil who eats a finger like that will get immense strength. though it's the equivalent of murder to a human. This is when Issei would do something no one expected. If we need immense strength, since this thing was dog walking Rias' entire peerage. Like, they weren't even landing a hit on this thing. Like, anytime they would hit him, it would just straight up send them flying. This is when you hear fine, as Issei ate the finger just like Itadori did. His eyes open as Sukuna has fully appeared, as he started walking forward and straight up just beats the shit out of that thing. Like it was a joke. This is when he said, "Oh, it's so good to be back." As Sir Zex would appear saying, "Excuse me, you ate one of the Sukuna fingers." As he would basically say, "You're not living in my body rent-free." Like this, as he stood back up and Issei just being himself, with the willpower that it took. Sukuna standing there saying, "What a bore. Now I'm gonna be stuck in a body like this." Oh shit, Drake? Because they knew each other, they really did. Drake and Sukuna saying, "Hello. My partner swallowed you? I assume it's mainly because of you that he's not dead." Nope, this is all him. This is when Sir Zex would say, "Let's Sukuna back out." Issei obliges, and Sukuna absolutely got his ass whooped. Issei, after those 10 seconds, like same thing Gojo did, Issei opens his eyes saying, "What the fuck was that?" Alright, that's it. As this is when he said, "Look, don't use that strength unless it's absolutely necessary. We'll come pick you. We'll talk to you later, okay?" Alright. This is when, out of no one's expectations, Sir Zex would leave. And Rias would say, "We absolutely got our ass whooped. We need to train." This is when she would say, maybe Gasper? She called her brother, asking if it'd be alright if she let Gasper out. Gas, hearing this, saying, "Well, with someone that powerful running around, you may need him. So I allow it." This is when, surprising to literally no one if you know my channel, Issei's doing his thing. He gets asked out by Yuma Mono, having two voices in his head saying, "Don't do it, partner. Don't do it, kid. You're gonna get killed." This is when he doesn't give a fuck. He does it. And surprisingly to no one, this monster Sukuna does not give a fuck about Issei. All he thinks is, maybe I can use this kid to get my full power back, and then take his body. He was thinking that, but he knows he doesn't need to live with a heart. He doesn't need a heart, so he could literally just make it where the kid could never turn back, since he would just stay without a heart. This is when Sir Zex would actually call Michael, Azazel, and all the other Devil Kings saying, "Listen, I just met up with," and stating Sukuna. Hearing that name, they all turn and are kind of terrified. The sword in Michael's hand saying, "Shall we fight him again?" No, remember, we can call Great Red if it actually needs to get to that. But the kid only absorbed one of his fingers. A kid, so it's a devil boy? No, he's a human. What? A human? A human was able to absorb one of... Yes, he was able to absorb one of Sukuna's fingers. Wow. And he's still alive. Yes, this is when Ijuka said, "We may need to run tests on the boy." Well, unless he becomes a devil, I don't think we will. Alright, fair point. You know anything else about a kid? He's also the wielder of Drake. They all turn their heads saying, "Drake? You mean one of the heavenly dragons? Great, so we're fighting Sukuna with a boosted gear. We're fucked. Literally, if he gets all 20, we're done. We aren't going to be able to stop him at all. It'd be the equivalent of trying to fight a gorilla with a water gun. We're fucked over. We can't win this." This is when Sir Zex would say, "Yes, but remember, we've always got the trump card we can call." Fair point, but you really think that dragon is going to really help us? Surprisingly enough, Tannen being the one to say, "Of course, Great Red would help you. He gave you his word. And to a dragon, your word is everything." Thank you, Tannen. Anyway, that's what our plan is. We're going to literally have the help of Great Red in case he gets all those 20 fingers. Because even 1 is a fucking threat. 2 is less of a threat, but still a very large one. I mean, nah, having even a single finger makes him a threat. This is when it was stated, he's in my sister, and this is when someone's older sister said, really? He's in our sister's domain? Yes, and I'm worried he can use the domain expansion that only Sukuna knew, since that was Sukuna's actual ability. It's called domain expansion, which allows you to they call it magic room, but he would call it domain expansion. And being that he was sealed away, it would let you be jumped by both Sukuna, the wielder, and whatever else was in the body. Key hint, that means Drake can come out to whoop anyone's ass if they're in a domain expansion. So yeah, as Issei's doing his thing, he would do something unexpected. When he fell asleep, Sukuna said, "You're pathetic, kid. I'm not going to be letting you take over what I truly am." What do you mean? Listen, kid, you're strong. I'll grant you that. You're able to withstand 1 of my fingers. Who knows how many you could? But it's been a long time since I've been reunited with Drake. I'll do this one time. I'm going to make a deal with you. Alright, shoot. I, Sukuna, swear that you will have my power at your disposal as long as you can prove yourself worthy of that. How do I do that? Him and Drake with a smile on their faces saying, training. Wait, what? So, for the next 2 days, he's training like a fucking monster. Like, he has to fight both of them at night in his mindscape, and in the daytime, he's working out. After 2 weeks of this, just 2 weeks, which I know I said it was 2 days of training, which, yeah, actually, 2 days of training was just enough for him to be able to use his boosted gear. He doesn't have balance breaker yet, but he's strong enough to where he's at that verge of having it. And he can let Sukuna out whenever the fuck he pleases. Which, right now, is more than a threat to anyone. Other than, Sir Zex, who was using everything he had to overwhelm Sukuna. Everything for 1 finger, so yeah. This is when Issei would wonder what's going on. He used to be asked out by Yuma Amano, aka Rainair. And once they had their date, and this is when she stabs clean through the chest of Issei. This is when tattoos will appear on his face. And she understands who this is all too well, saying, Sukuna? You're back. Yes, it's quite good to be back. Who would think I'd finally be who I was again? And you, a lowly fallen angel. A low fallen angel thinks you can defeat me. How pathetic. Not to mention, I still have this as a trump card, showing the boosted gear. No, as Sukuna said, balance breaker. With absolute fear. And even shitting their pants, the fallen angels start to attack. As Issei straight just slaps them around like they're nothing. Pimp slap, and pimp slap. Even proceeding to drop kick Freed right in the mouth. Freed getting yeeted like 20 feet. This is when they did something unexpected. They let loose a stray devil, which they had made a deal with. They'll let it live if it would, join them. This was a stray devil that was strong enough to keep up with all 4 of them. But something they had done to it, they gave it one of the fingers of Sukuna. They were trying to find the other one to feed to it so they could have a beast like this at their disposal, since it said, I'll eternally be grateful for your protection. Before this, it wasn't quite strong. It was only strong enough to be a threat, like to these 4, but now it's stronger than them all combined, by far. Sukuna saying, you're around my own strength. I'm impressed, but surprisingly enough, this is when Rias would do something. This is when Issei would start laughing, saying, alright, boosted gear. As the Dragon Claw, even in Balance Breaker, just walking around, just straight up slapping this thing around, using the boost and boost and boost, tearing a finger out of its chest, absorbing it, saying, it's good to be back. Oh, yes, I can feel the strength, a tenth of my former glory. You know, you should be honored that you get to be killed by someone like me. As this is when Issei took the body back over, right after he was about to kill them all. He already killed a stray devil. Even though Sukuna never healed his chest, which means his heart is still erased. Though, because he's not dead, Issei and him are not dead, neither is Drake leaving. They're talking to each other, saying all this. Issei saying, I couldn't let you kill so many. Fine. I'll bring you back. No need. What do you mean? You saw what happened. Oh yeah, that Grimory girl. She must have revived you. Well, I'll still give you a single revive whenever the fuck you need it. Later, as Sukuna went back to sleep. Kind of just bored as shit. Though him and Drake do have a little bit of fun sparring. But at this strength, Sukuna's basically just getting his ass whooped. It's not even a fight. This is when Rias would state to her brother and call him. He walks in having Sukuna's finger. This is when he actually got a Juka's, and he even called Michael and he would call Michael and Azazel, who would both wind up saying, alright, sending the fingers to Sir Zex, saying, if you give them to him, give it to him at your own risk. Sir Zex saying, if need be, I can just send him into Oblivion, and call Great Red. Which was all around his plan in case things went south. First thing that happened was being told, if you do want to live here. Alright. Being given one finger, noting that he was so close to the strength he once wanted. Sukuna actually came out saying, oh, I can tell you're hiding more. Just give them back to me and you won't be killed. Sir Zex saying, funny, using his full strength above Sukuna. Sukuna using his full strength and then even letting the balance breaker out, saying, as this is when the most fucked up thing would happen. So you need the strength of Drake to beat me. Right now. I'll make you a deal. A deal with the devil. Sounds fitting. What is it? Protect my sister, and I'll give you all the fingers of Sukuna. Deal. I'll protect her with my life. Alright, here. Giving him another finger, he instantly downs it, saying, oh yeah. 20%, here I am. Here you go. Throwing 2 more fingers in front of him, saying, you're really letting me get that high of percentages? As he absorbs the 5th and 6th finger, he says, wow, 30% of my full strength. Not bad. So, you want to have a little fight? Just so I can test my full strength out, of course. Sure. As he pulled out what looks like a blade. Oh, so you're going to have a blade. Sure, even fight. As he yelled, balance breaker. Oh, you're using balance breaker too. Cool. Sukuna basically was just straight up fighting him on an even scale without even using Drake. Issei took over, and his strength at this point, with Sukuna's fingers, actually allows him the strength to keep up with Sir Zex. Not with the gear on, though, as he would use the balance breaker, not being tattooed anymore, but still having those little slits under his eyes, which were actually other eyes. As he's actually fighting on an almost even scale with balance breaker. Issei struggling to use it, but still having it. As this is when he said, Sukuna, you can take back over now. Sukuna absolutely dog-walking Sir Zex. Like, he literally used his magic to make a leash and started walking him and beating his ass. It was funny as hell. As Rias would say, please stop, you're gonna kill my brother. This is when Sukuna said, "Why would I care?" As Issei took back over, saying, "Alright," letting go of everything, saying, "Alright, there you go." So this is the full strength I have at my disposal. Kind of nice. Alright. Well, those are 6 of the fingers. This is when he asked, "Where are the rest of them?" Well, explain. The rest of them were lost, okay? So you lost 14 power-ups for devils. Are you an idiot? Mind your tongue, boy. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want, and you're not stopping me. Really? Yes, now. I can basically feel where they are, but I feel 2 of them are actually getting close. Really? Well, I don't feel like I should be needed. Saying, but there is a stray devil coming here. I can sense it, so I was going to put Sona's team on it, but if you sense the power of Sukuna in it, I guess I'll send you. Wait, there's another one. They're traveling together. One masks the other's strength. Right. Both of you need to go then. Sona and Rias' peerage walk there. At the edge of the town, whenever these 2 monsters would appear. One having one of Sukuna's fingers, the other one eating 2. Issei starting to laugh, saying, "Oh, thanks for bringing them to me, boys." Them saying, "Give us the fingers of Sukuna." The weaker one of actually, the little one ate his first finger, now being on the same, being half as strong as his friend right there. As they proceed to try to jump Issei, who was actually getting a bit of an ass whooping. He was getting his ass beat by 3 fingers of Sukuna. But note, that was without boosted gear, without anything, and he was fighting. He could take on the little one easier, but the bigger one was actually a struggle. Rias and Sona think their entire peerage could have jumped this thing, and it wouldn't matter. Either of them. This is when Rias and Sona use their full power together and think, we'll try taking on the other one. The weaker one. Issei saying, "Don't worry, I'll let Sukuna take care of it. Hey Sukuna, it's time to eat." Sukuna saying, "It's about time." As he walks forward, absolutely tearing the first finger out of the bigger one's chest. Then eating it, saying, "Oh, now you're around the same strength. Well now, 2 versus 1, do your best." Hearing this, they're trying to attack Issei and Sukuna at the full time, but they aren't even able to land a scratch on him. This is when, surprisingly enough, Rias would throw a ball of destruction that she would miss. It wouldn't hit either of them. As this is when it hit Issei in the face, Issei cracking his neck, saying, "Ow! Be careful, that's my body, even if Sukuna's in control." Fine. Rias then sitting down, saying, "We'll stay out of the fight." This is when Sona started laughing, saying, "You tried to help, and all you did was hit your own pawn in the face with destruction." Don't laugh, Sona. I'll laugh as much as I want. That was funny. Fine. As the entire period sit down, Kiba's actually wondering, "Hey, do you need a weapon?" Sukuna, who was actually known to wield a blade in his former life, saying, "Sure, you got a spare sword?" This is when he makes one of his regular ass swords, saying, "Here you go." It's able to absorb holy energy, which really doesn't have any helping thing for you right now, but good luck, man. Saying, "You know what? Swinging it once as it shatters," saying, "Dude, you really got to make stronger blades." As he just sent the handle back to Kiba, Kiba saying, "That was my finest work, what the fuck?" Anyway, this is when Issei would do something unexpected. He would bring his full strength out. He would let Sukuna go all out. Sukuna, having 7 fingers at this point, tears 2 out, eating him both at once, saying, "Well, I'm back." It's good to be at almost, 45% of my power. This is when another devil would appear with one who was already strong enough to fight. it was thought to be strong enough to handle Rias's and Sona's peerage together. And probably could have made canon a complete joke. This is when it actually attempts to stab at Issei with a blade that was a demonic sword. Issei, who let it snap against his skin, Sukuna letting it snap against his skin, straight up just tears the face off of this demon and rips that finger out, saying, "I'm impressed. Your strength is higher than I was expecting. I'd say you're maybe at one finger's strength without even having one. I'm impressed. Here, I'll grant you something. A quick death." Ripping its head off and destroying it instantly while taking the finger, eating it, saying, "50% of my former glory." Issei having around, 25% at this point, saying, "Wow, even I get a good help of energy from this." His strength, even without Sukuna unleashed, is more than enough to absolutely beat the shit out of anyone who isn't on the level of Mao. Hell, even Grafia is one of the few that can actually fight like this. Grafia is one of the only ones who could keep up with this strength. 50% Sukuna strength would absolutely dogwalk everyone, but 25% is something Grafia could handle. Admittingly hard to do, but somewhat possible for her. Granted, it'd take everything she had, though. This is when Issei would start to laugh, saying, "I think that'll be all for tonight." Next morning, seeing Asya, saying, "Hello, Asya, what's up?" Asya then proceeds to he didn't say what's up to Asya. He would just take her to the church the way he did in canon. Then, that night exactly is when he gets hit with the meanest fucking clothesline, laughing it off like nothing happened, saying, "What's wrong? Is that all you could do?" As this is when, surprisingly enough, Freed said, "Wait, what the fuck? I just hit you as hard as I fucking could with light. You're a devil, what the fuck?" Sukuna then using his power and straight up just erasing light from existence, from that light from existence, saying, "It's a bad day, kid. Remember what happened? Oh shit. I'm out." And starts taking off. Calls the fallen angels to help him. They have nothing to help them with. So when they are about to get there, Rias actually said, "Tactical retreat, let's go." "Oh, but I was having fun." Whatever. Not right now, though. Come on. Fine. The next day, Issei just straight up takes Asya out on a date. When the fallen angels appear and try taking Asya from him, he basically almost eats one of them. This is when, surprisingly enough, he would get stabbed through the chest in Issei, just being Issei, with a piercing thing going clean through him and actually stabbing Asya in her own chest, clearing hers as well. As Issei said, "I couldn't save her," with tears in his eyes, saying, "Sukuna, run wild." Sukuna saying, "Aw, thank you," walking forward like it was a joke to him. Sukuna then rips them apart and gives them all the agony and pain they could ever feel, and then erases them from existence. Rias appears saying, "What the fuck was that? I felt the full power of Sukuna unleashed. What the fuck?" Saying, "Please, revive her, Rias." Fine. Giving her a bishop, as Issei would say, "Thank you." So what happened? They tried killing her and me. All they could do was cut through me and get to her. Alright. This is when Issei, who's really pissed off. I know he had enough strength to do something, but without any help, he wound up just trying to block, which he didn't have the ability to. Back to what if, as this is when Freed would tell them what the fuck just happened. He had escaped. Well, he wasn't even there, but he saw what happened, and he escaped with a teleportation circle, saying, "Alright, I'm getting the fuck out of here. Y'all stay and die if y'all want to. I'm not doing it." This is when all the other exorcists decide to get the fuck out of there. Osseous saying thank you for reviving me, Rias, and actually joining her peerage as the bishop. As Issei would say, well, we had fun. Now let's go. Surprisingly enough, Rias being the one to ask, go where? We're going to my house. Okay, sure. They walk there, and this is when they see what they would never expect. Issei's father walking around like nothing was happening, confusing them a little bit, saying, what's with him? This is when he said, Issei, it's time you realize your true glory. Come with me. Oh, and Rias Grimory, I know that you're now my son's master, but I would ask you not to come in with me. Wait, why? If you already know I'm a devil and you know I'm his master, why wouldn't I be allowed to? Because this is a father-son talk. My wife will let you in whenever it's hit that point when you're allowed to come in. Alright, come on, son. His parents actually take him into another room, which was made of magic. This is when Issei's father would say, look, I know you're able to be the host of Sukuna. I know all this. And I know where most of the fingers are. I can tell 10 of them are in your stomach. So Issei, you've held up through 10 of Sukuna's fingers. His father showing an injury on his father then showing a scar on his chest that Issei never saw before, saying, what's with this? This is when I was trying to withstand Sukuna's fingers. What? Granted, it was years ago, and all I could handle was 4. What? You were in your exact same position, my son, but with far less fingers and far weaker. What happened? They burst out of my chest. And now, here's where they are, showing 4 of Sukuna's fingers laying there. So what happened? I tried absorbing them all at once, and they wouldn't let me. Sukuna refused my help, and actually decided that I'd be better off dead, but I wouldn't let it happen. Why are you telling me this? Because my body was showing signs of destruction at the 2nd finger. You're at 10 fingers and you look like nothing's going on. You look the same as whenever I had the 1st finger. In other words, you could probably handle 4 times what you have now. Really? Yes. In other words, my son, you are the true host of Sukuna. Here, eat, my son. Wait, but are they clean and everything? Of course. They were cleaned years ago. Does that mean they're clean now, or... Look, they haven't been opened out of their packaging in years, so yes, they're clean. Alright, eating 3 of the 4 fingers, as his father said, calm down. Your body will reject it if it's too fast. Sukuna saying, it won't reject me, though. Sukuna going into Sukuna form saying, Sukuna, it's been so long. Oh, my old host. It's been a bit. I'm glad to see you never tried eating the fingers again. What? It's simple. Your body just couldn't handle them. I tried getting you to stop, and you didn't. You ate 4 of them and almost died. Here. I understand your pain. Not everyone's meant to be the legend, but at least your son was. Here you go. What is this? Demonic dagger. Nicknamed Dagger of Curses. We got it from a demon. Really? It's more your speed. Wielding it, saying it's like it's home. It was your family's years ago. Wait, really? Yes. Here, it's yours. This is when he said, no, my son should have it. What about you? I'm well past my prime. Besides, he may need it more than I do. That cursed dagger is only going to really work for him in the future. Besides, I see it more as his than mine. Well, that's all. Once Sukuna absorbed all those fingers, this is when he said, Rias, honey, allow Rias inside. Rias going in, saying, so what is it? My son has now have 14 of Sukuna's fingers eaten. I want you to do me a favor. Actually, you know what? Now I think... Let me check. I'm going to say no, it's 15. 15 of Sukuna's fingers have been eaten. As this is when he said... Wait, really? Yes. Now, my request... Take care of him. You should know that people with Sukuna's fingers do have a slightly higher libido, is the best way of putting it. Wait, really? Yes. This is when his wife starts smirking, saying, even with only 3 fingers, he was already a monster, so... I kind of fear for you, Rias. Well, this is when Rias said something unexpected. I'm not alone, though. Them raising their eyebrows, saying, what do you mean? As this is when the entirety of the Occult Research Club... As this is when Asya would walk in, saying, I'm here, too. Akano, surprisingly enough, already trying to flirt with Issei, said, I'm joining in on this one. This is when Konako would say, I wouldn't be against it. And that's basically it. This is when it was actually asked, could Asya stay here with y'all? Issei is saying, I think it should be fine, right, Mom and Dad? It should be completely alright. As they just didn't give a fuck. As his father then said, here, son. What is it? It's the final thing I wish to give you, in front of your entire group. This is when he said, well, 2 members aren't here yet. Okay, well then let them come in. As the door would open, as this is when Kiba and Gasper would walk in, saying, I grant you this, my son. What the hell? Ah, you're surprised to see it. I hoped you'd be. Even with 15 of Sukuna's fingers, this still is a scary thing to wield. What is it? The true weapon of the true weapon of Sukuna. Wait, you don't mean... The Sword of Curse. Granted, the dagger isn't bad, but it's just not as good. He had a total of 4 weapons. You have 2 of them, the dagger and the sword. That was his top right hand and his bottom left hand. Now all you have to do is find the katana, which you have a broadsword now. Find the katana and find the short katana variation. Okay, where am I going to find those? Well, most likely I'd say you'll find them with the next wielders of the fingers. Well, with the last wielder of the fingers. What do you mean? He's wielded the fingers for as long as I can remember. You're kidding. No, he's a devil. Really? How strong is he? With 5 of Sukuna's fingers, his strength is equivalent to 10 of Sukuna's fingers, and with those 2 blades, he can even outmatch, well, anyone. I figured I could take him, but I wasn't strong enough. This is when Issei balled his knuckles, saying, wait, does that mean... Yes, my son, you must fight him, and you must win. Who is he? As it was said, the Phoenix House. It was originally the head of the Phoenix House, but I think nowadays it's been passed on to their youngest son, Riser. Wait, so you mean Rias kind of scared, saying Riser has the fingers? Yes, Rias. Your your would-be husband would have the fingers of Sukuna. Issei then saying, I'll still win. I'll take those fingers from him, and I will show my dominance. Alright, this is when Gravy would appear 2 days later. Issei would wake up after a very intense training session with Sukuna, whose strength at this point is able to keep up with Drake. Noting those last 5 fingers are going to be the real painful addition, though. As this is when Issei would decide something. I'll never lose. Awake. This is when, surprisingly enough, Rias would say, sleep with me, Issei. Issei saying, I know what my father said, but are you sure about this, Rias? I'm certain. Fine, then. if this is what you wish. As he's about to do it, as he gets straight up clotheslined, the meanest one he's ever had, by Grafia. Grafia saying, "I'm sorry, Issei, but I can't let this happen." As Issei, who's only wearing a pair of, sweatpants, saying, sweatpants, says, "I can't believe I have to do this to Sir Zex's queen. Domain expansion." As this is when she sees Drake, Sukuna, and Issei all standing together. As she said, "I must explain. She's engaged, you know, right?" "Yeah." "Well, he'll be here tomorrow, so we can't let her be deflowered yet. If y'all are able to defeat him, do whatever the fuck you want, I don't care. But until then, you're not allowed to deflower Lady Grimmery." "Fine. Well then, let's go." As this is when Issei would, surprisingly enough, use his full power to overwhelm Grafia. Grafia saying, "Such strength." "Well, not a big deal. We'll see you tomorrow," as he turned off domain expansion and went to sleep. This being more than enough power to over-fucking-whelm everyone. The next morning, he wakes up and basically just walks into the Occult Research Club, not giving a shit. With Ostia right next to him, he walks in. A few minutes later, you hear, "Riser Phoenix has returned to the human world." Riser, who's basically got the marks of Sukuna on him. Issei says, "You look kind of weak for someone who's the wielder of Sukuna's fingers." "Oh, you know about that and you're still thinking I'm weak." "Admittingly, I'm not as strong as Sukuna originally was, but that's because I only have 5 fingers." As this when both sides of Sukuna said, "You." Issei saying, "So you really think you're stronger than me?" Letting out the boosted gear and even going into Sukuna form. The other Sukuna saying, "Well, it'll be good to give the fingers from your chest." Issei and Riser, who basically just look like have the mark of Sukuna, look terrifying. Grapia says, "I'm sorry, but I have to stop this fight." This is when surprisingly enough Riser said, "Alright, fine." Issei saying, "Whatever." And this is when the deals were agreed upon. But this is where a slight change would happen. Their week of training would just go straight by. Everyone got a little bit stronger, but that's about it. This is when Issei, of all people, when the fight begins, he says, "Y'all fight these fights, y'all fight these fights." Showing Kiba to go fight this, Gasper and Konako to go fight this, having Asya and Rias stay back while he was to go basically be the trump card. This is when that was the plan, and they actually fucking did it. The one who really made it easy was their entire peerage about to just jump Issei for him to speed blitz them. As this is when Issei winds up actually defeating all of the peerage that was there. Though those other 3, well, the other 4, really 7, got defeated from their areas as the queen hit both Konako and Gasper with an explosion. Sorry about that, guys. My little brother just wants to be an asshole and threatened to be really nasty to all my stuff. Anyway, back to the what if. Now, this is when Issei would actually, completely after knocking all of them out, the queens are the ones who have to fight. There's only Riser, his bishop, and his queen. Akano gets taken out. Now it's just Rias. Now really it's just the queen, the bishop, and Riser versus... Well, Kiba was about to go help Issei against Riser just to get hit with an explosion in the back and get knocked out of the fight. Now it's only just Rias, Issei, and Asya versus, well, them. That's a hard fight to win. Issei basically walked up, and both of them in their Sukuna forms. Issei, even in his balance breaker, tore the fingers out of Riser. After trying the first one, I like it was a joke. Riser said, "You pathetic worm, I am immortal." Oh no. This is when he thought his immortality would be the death of him. Literally. Because he couldn't technically protect them. Issei's skin was so much harder because he wasn't immortal, while his own was quite weak. Issei, who ripped all the fingers out of the chest of Riser and ate them instantly, saying, "Phoenix blood is so good on the fingers. Perfect sauce, if you would." Riser, who was basically shitting himself, seeing the full power of Sukuna above him, and making him look like a joke. This is when the balance breaker was activated, and he was just ripped to shreds. His queen and his sister jump in the way, saying, please don't kill my older brother," and for the queen saying, "Please don't kill my king, I beg of you." Allowing this to happen, as this is when you hear, "I yield," from the mouth of Riser, who gave up after getting those fingers ripped out of his chest. As he said, "Good. Now, goodbye, Riser Phoenix." This is when Ravel said, which they'd actually not just said, "Please don't kill him," they said they'll do anything for him not to be murdered. This is when Issei actually had an idea. A very fucked up one, but still an idea. "You said you'd do anything. That still stands, correct?" "Yes." Then both a little scared of what he might ask. As this is when he basically said, "Come on." Ravel, who said this, had wound up joining and actually joining the class of Konako, being the same age. Now they had a vampire, a Nekomata devil, and a phoenix. That's a bad thing to have in one class, because they really just don't get along. This is when he said, "Y'all have to serve me tea and cake as often as possible. As anytime I want. Deal?" "Deal." He does this right in front of Riser, walks in the Phoenix Manor, sits his ass right in the big chair, which is usually where Riser would sit when his father wasn't there, and he would be served like a king. Same way they serve Sir Zex. Given cakes, teas, anything he fucking wanted. As he said thank you and walks away, Riser kind of pissed off since he was basically made to be a little bitch in his own home. Issei does this about 20 different times before the fight with Kokubile. And in that fight, Sukuna straight up just beats the shit out of Kokubile for like 20 minutes straight. And then we have the fight with... Damn it, that's where I forget where we were. I mean, we still have that same chick joining. Sukuna saying, "Maybe God is dead, but who gives a damn?" Ripping apart the very wings, while this is when we have the fight, the actual meeting up with all that, and when they have their meeting, Issei, who was asked, "You wield two of the strongest beings in existence." This is when, surprisingly enough, Valley said, "I'm intrigued, let's fight." Nah, not right now. "Fine, whatever, we'll see." As Issei utterly beats the dog shit out of Volley. Right whenever Volley and them tried mounting the attack. In this version, having two powerhouses like this, Issei beating both they ass in Sukuna form and is absolutely beating them to a pulp. So bad to the point whenever they're both beaten to hell. This is when Volley escapes while that other girl falls in love. The one who calls herself the true head of the Leviathan. This is when she basically said, "I don't care about our differences anymore. I don't care about becoming the head of my former house. I just care about being his." Hearing this is when Sona's older sister would say, "Really? So you're letting me keep the title Leviathan? Anything, just please let me get with him." Pointing to Issei. Issei saying, "What the fuck?" This is when, surprisingly enough, as Sukuna would say, well, in one of my past, in the time, she was actually one of my women. Wait, what? Yeah, one of my, basically, exes before I died. As this is when Issei said, I don't fucking mind, as Sukuna would be the one to take over when that happens, though. Deal. As this is when Sukuna would say something unexpected to Issei. I'll leave you exactly my strength. Once you've reached the same strength I had in base form, then you can literally let me out. It'll happen, you'll release me, but you'll have all of my abilities. Okay? And you'll also have a kind of mind link to me. Alright? Drake saying the same thing. Issei, who's only about half the strength of either of them, saying, so I have to become as strong as both of you combined. Damn. Well, I can do it. He trains Sukuna powers every single night. Even to the point when he actually had to go to Kuo. Well, not Kuo, when he went to the other place. That wasn't even a big deal for him. He even held down the Nine-Tailed Fox like it was a joke. And then everything else happening, not a joke. Literally nothing to him. Using domain expansion on everyone for them to all see Drake's giant ass. Sukuna standing there. And the actual mind of the Nine-Tailed Fox girl, which I'm going to do a what if with her kind of involved on Issei's behalf, but not really that big of a deal. As the little girl would actually start talking to her mother, as this is when it was actually chosen for all that to happen, and Issei still had wound up getting the Divide Stone and placing it into the gear, having a little bit of Albion in there too. Asking if he had to get the full strength of Albion as well, since he saw that little bit of it. Saying no, you just had to have that much added on to their strength. Issei barely, before the fight against Cyber-Org, was said, you now have the strength to release one of the two. Which do you choose? As he put it off for a second. He fought against Cyber-Org in Sukuna form with Balance Breaker and won. I know the Valdor Astroth thing still happened, but in this version, right when that happened, he straight up just pimp slaps him. But whenever that thing tried happening where they saw the true depths of hell when Issei used his full power into Juggernaut Drive with all the tattoos on the armor. As this is when he would be the final thing. As this is when Issei would finally find the thing about to fight against Cyber-Org. Now, when he is about to fight Cyber-Org, he decides something. He doesn't need help, but he will still use some. He fist fought Cyber-Org to a standstill. Cyber-Org then using the gear to beat him. Issei using both his powers and making it look like it was a joke. Winning the fight. Cyber-Org still standing. As he said, just like a badass, you're still standing after damn near dying. Here. Healing him with Sukuna's ability as he would vanish. Good. Now, he had still revived, basically made it where the mom could wake up. This is when Issei said, Sir Zex, I'm going to release Drake and Sukuna. Them saying, we can't let you do that, Issei. Then stop me. As saying, with only the 4 Devil Kings trying to do this is when he did something unexpected. Issei, whose strength is just under where it needs to be to release all of them. He can release Drake and he can release Sukuna, but he can't release that little bit of Albion. As this is when he decides, I'll do it. Letting his power run through as he would beat Sir Zex. Sir Zex saying, fine, you win. He has 2 days with his training with them, all in his mind. As he's finally strong enough, he releases all of them at once. Issei, who said, I feel incomplete. Them saying, we understand how you feel. Well, this is when, surprisingly enough, Sukuna would actually decide to stay living with Issei, because they live in a mansion now, so it might as well, with his new wife, that the actual, Leviathan. as they enjoyed that, and they had a child. They chose to name him I'm debating on what I should make it, so I'm deciding to use the name of the actual main character, Itadori. They decided to name him Itadori and say he'll be the next head of the House of Leviathan. As Sona's sister said, I'm fine with it, do it. As that was what the plan was. They wound up giving that away. This is when Issei would actually use his full strength, overwhelm that of everyone. Volley, who said, I've done it. I'm finally stronger than Great Red. After defeating him in a fight, right when Ophis was about to kill, Issei came in and socked the shit out of Ophis, sending her flying. This is when saying, without any of them, you're useless. As this is when he decided, you know what, fine. Releasing Albion, saying, let's go. They fight, and this is when Sir Zek said, come here, Volley Lucifer. What do you want? I gift you this. You're giving me my house back? Yes, you're now Lucifer. Me and my son, you will have to compete with him in the future for him to be when he tries to become the next Lucifer. This is when he said, I'm not doing that, I want to become the Grimmery head. Really? As this one, Reese would state that she actually had already been pregnant, and she would decide to be with Issei, who is stronger than everyone combined. Actually saying, and I am taking the role of God. What? Michael saying, thank the heavens. Goodbye. As he passes out, as he would give up the leadership to Issei. Issei, who leads all of the realms and everything, training, basically just doing whatever the fuck he wanted. With his wives behind him, and whatever the fuck he wanted at his disposal, he did this. Like nothing could happen to him that was bad. As he decided to grant one final wish. With his son being the one to take the throne from him 2,000 years later. Drake, who had been his steed his whole life, after he had released him, Drake was still his steed, and that little fraction of Albion joined with the other part of Albion in kind of fusing together when Volley let them go. Still keeping Albion as a steed for Volley, as this was when his son, the next real Lucifer, would take over the House of Lucifer and ride with Albion, and Issei's own son would be the one to take over and ride Drake. As Issei would pass after 10,000 years, being the oldest living devil, and then granting a goodbye to everything that he knew, his family, his grandkids even. As he gave it that final goodbye, he would rest completely. This is when, right after this, his grandson would take over the title of God from his son, who was turning old already. As this is when that would just keep happening for centuries and eons, and that's how the existence would end. Although Issei was reborn a few times, though none of his lives were really worth anything. He did note that he could put a few hands on people, though. He met Sukuna again, his old friends, as everything came to a complete end. The families were the entire world was in peace, while everything was completely done. And that's what if Issei had Sukuna. And that is it.